What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Hey, good evening, everybody. And I've pinned those of you who are moving and grooving so the audience could see it. It's good to see you, Eleanor Joy, Reverend Jeffrey, Wild Monk Cherry. We're going to have a little time talking with Cherry tonight, and Sylvia. So thank you for moving and grooving. I appreciate it very much. And tonight is going to be a really, really fun show. We are going to be learning all about lucid dreaming. And we've got two really wonderful guests. It's a mother and daughter team, which is really kind of fun. This is Nisha on the left, Norma on the right. I'll let you guess who's the mother and who's the daughter. And they're both wonderful. I've been getting to know them. They live in Ashland. And as you all know, I spent a lot of time in Ashland recently, had a couple of meals with them. And they are going to teach us all about lucid dreaming. They do workshops on it. They've written a book about it, and we're very, very proud to have them. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about both of them. And then, of course, we're going to have an Omashar song. Omashar is flying home right now, even as we speak. He is flying back, so he will be with us live in person on our next show, Saturday night. But a little bit about both of them. Norma is a master of transpersonal psychology and a scholar of world religions. She specializes in Buddhist psychology, Jungian dream work, and trauma healing. With 9 years of advanced academic degrees and over 30 years of apprenticeship working with indigenous elders. Of course, we just did a big show with indigenous elders last week. Norma brings a very rare level of expertise in guiding the exploration of the subconscious Dreamtime. And I've had some wonderful conversations with Norma, and she really understands in a very compassionate way how to work with our shadow, how to work with our shadow side. And I know that's something I always am fascinated with, and I think we'll probably ask her a few questions. And her daughter is a skilled dream worker, a filmmaker, technologist, and a digital artist. Nisha's been trained in the art of journeying into the deep subconscious, working from a young age because she was Norma's daughter, right? So, you know, she kind of was living with it. And Nisha does have this ability to weave the information that she's learned with many masters, because her mother has been, her mom is like a who's who of spiritual teachers and elders from around the world. They've traveled around the world together. It's not in their little bio, but one of the things that's amazing is they traveled the world together, even when Nisha was a child, learning from various spiritual teachers. And so Nisha has learned how to kind of weave that in with her own firsthand experience in the lucid dream realms. So it's really cool having both of you with us. When I got to know them, I was like, oh, we got to do a show with you, definitely. And thank you for taking the time to do that.
Thanks.
We are going to start with an Omashar video, and people get up, move, and groove to the music. I see we've got a lot of our favorite dance players with us, and then we're going to get right into learning all about lucid dreaming. But here we go with Sentu Us by beloved Omashar, This Beautiful Garden.
Seem to remember the time when we all were happy, and my family, we all were together, singing harmonies, my sisters and brothers. I often dream that we're gathered together, and we all live in this beautiful garden by a river with my favorite flowers and the trees there. I know them by name. If you'd like a new life, here it is, here it is, here it is. If you'd like a true life, here it is, here it is, here it is. We all are born of the great sun. We all are beloved golden ones. Do you remember? You're part of the story. You are the glory. If you'd like a new life, here it is, here it is. If you like a true life, here it is, here it is, here it is.
That's all, Twinkle Omashar. Thank you, Jerry, Sylvia, Reverend Jeffrey, and good to see you, Eleanor Joy, dancing and moving and grooving. It's kind of a slower song, but it's got that kind of mystical approach to it, doesn't it? It's I like that one. All right. Well, we're going to go right to tonight's show. And I'm curious, let's definitely utilize the chat box. I will call on some of you. I will read your comments. Curious what people's previous experience up until tonight is with lucid dreaming. Who can control their lucid dreams? Who just has them, but they kind of randomly happen? That's me. I've had some amazing ones, but I haven't learned how to make it happen. I'm hoping after tonight, I'm going to know how to do that. And so here they are, Nisha and Norma. And I guess let's just start, maybe share with people a little bit about your own personal journey of moving into discovering and working with lucid dreaming.
Absolutely. I'll start off talking about it. So, as you wonderfully put in the introduction too, I'm so lucky to have been raised in a lineage of dreamers and raised immersed with the practices of honoring the dream time, because a lot of times in our culture, kids are told, oh, that was just a dream, or don't worry about it, and really the dream time is diminished. Whereas growing up with my mom and within the various cultures that we visited, seeing the importance of the dream time and how it is such a powerful space that we go every night in order to connect with ourselves, with our higher selves, with these amazing dimensions of non-ordinary reality. Dreaming was always a big part of my life. And so all through my childhood, I would talk about my dreams. And then as I moved into my teenage years, I would always write down my dreams. And then really in my mid-20s is when I became very fascinated with lucid dreaming. And the way it came about was that I actually had this moment where my mom and I were driving along in the car and we were just talking like normal. And then I was like, and when I die. But unlike other times when I said that, it was just a mundane thing to say. In this moment, I had a very visceral, almost like going through a veil feeling come upon me of the gravity of that. And like, wow, that is really amazing that us as humans have to face that someday, ultimately, we will no longer be in our physical bodies and we'll be entering into this great unknown. And so from that, I had a little bit of an existential crisis, but then really with working with it, and every time I would go to bed, I was thinking, actually, every night we go into a space that is not like this physical, tangible reality, that is non-linear, that is non-ordinary reality. So what if I really took the time to become conscious and aware in the dream time? And that's when I started really studying the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Tibetan dream yogas too, which that very much ties into lucid dreaming as a practice for preparing for navigating in the great mystery, in the unknown, in the bardos, in those dream realms. And so that's where I got first very interested in lucid dreaming, and then I studied the works both of Western scientists, psychologists, as well as Eastern traditions around dreaming. and lucid dreaming, and really took on the daytime practices, which is what we're going to be talking about a lot tonight, to be able to not only become a spontaneous lucid dreamer, because in the past, being very connected with my dreams, I would have spontaneous lucid dreams, but to become a lucid dreamer as a skill, right? And then being able to have lucid dreams regularly, being able to sustain them. And from that, being able to go to very magical, mystical, advanced places, working with lucid dreaming as a regular practice in my life.
Wow. Just what a blessed childhood to have, really. And I just want to acknowledge, obviously I'm acknowledging Norma for providing that for you, but how cool that you didn't rebel against it, but flowed with it, so give Nisha some credit there too.
Right.
Now, Norma, going back, what brought you into this world? What triggered your interest in this field?
Me too. From the time I was little, I had amazing dreams. In Celtic culture, they talk about some people are dreamers. We all dream. Every human dreams. But it seems that some of us are flooded with dreams from a young age. And so I had many amazing dreams from the time I was very little that I couldn't even talk about to most people. Until more recent times, I've found others that also have had dreams like that. But I had dreams like being taken into spaceships and shown many things, and on a regular basis being met by beings that I could actually see in ordinary reality too. So I had a dream time in ordinary reality, fluidity, from the time I was young. Luckily, I had a grandmother who was also a dreamer. So she saw me, and from a young age, I think schooled me, so she would take me on long walks in the woods and talk to me all about dreams. And then also she was a nurse, a healer, an herbalist, and we lived on the edge of the Tonawanda Indian Reservation, and she was actually adopted into the tribe. So she was a mystic and a healer and my mentor. And I just feel so blessed that I had her. My mother and father were wonderful too, spiritual people who were guiding me too. But my grandmother was the gifted dreamer and psychic. And I remember that people would come to her with their dreams, like a lot of the native people would come to her when they would have a troubling dream and ask her what it meant. And she would also get prophetic dreams for people. She would dream of deaths and of births and of transitions. And so I remember that in my childhood, her being sought after for her mystical guidance for people. I think she was actually like the shaman of the tribe, if we look back on it. And she died at a young age when I was young, and she was only 69. And when she died, it was really a hard thing for me, to have her go when I was that young. And she came to me, no kidding, like for 3 years, almost every night, as if she didn't get to train me enough in all of the things that she had wanted to. So she was giving me downloads from the other dimension for a long time. And later I met another grandmother who became my wonderful dream teacher, Guadalupe de los Rios, who's from the Huichol tribe. And so my grandmother died when I was 24, and I met Guadalupe when I was about 28. And I needed it. I needed another grandmother to really be there for me. And so I ended up studying with her off and on for many, many years, going to be with her coming up to the United States to be with me and a group of us. And so I got deeply trained by this Huichol Mirakame, master guide in the use of the Dreamtime through drumming journeying. That's the way that traditionally Native people, well, indigenous people all over the world, it's in our Western lineage too, of the drumming. And a lot of times, no offense to the men, because the men all had their roles too, but the women were the drummers who led the women into the Dreamtime. And the men were right there with them, supporting them and doing their parts too. But there's lots of records available now coming out of Mesopotamia and Corsica, Sicily, all these places where the women were drummers. And I love the book by Brian Murarescu called The Immortality Key. If any of you have read it or haven't read it yet, I recommend it. But it goes into Western history and shows the lineage of the drumming and the psychedelic tools that they had, that they were masters of. And so there's that in Western lineage, and in the study with Native American elders in North and South America. I also studied with Buddhist masters. I got to live in Japan. When I was young, I felt like I want to live in a Buddhist culture. I don't just want to take it from Western secondhand teachings. I need to live there. So I went and lived in Japan for many years. What a great experience that was. And I ended up being guided to an esoteric branch of Buddhism called Mikyo, Third Way, which was based on Shugendo, which is the ancient merging of the mountain shamans and early Buddhism. That led me through to being with current people in Japan who are practicing very esoteric and meditation practices that take you into lucid states in the dreamtime and ordinary reality. So that was an amazing time of my life. And I came back to the United States and was able to go to graduate school into Buddhist Christian dialogue and Buddhist psychology. And my master's and PhD work was in mysticism as the thread that goes through all of the religions, right? It's the common thread through all of the religions, mystical experience and direct contact with the divine, with our higher consciousness. Brian Murarescu talks about that in The Immortality Key, that direct contact, that gnosis, to use a Greek word for the knowing, the direct knowing, is what we all have access to. It's our human birthright, which is something we've all got to remember, don't you think, especially in these times that we're living in. We've got to be having these gnosis contacts, and this yearning for it is happening all over the planet, hence the psychedelic renaissance, and that's great and fabulous that we have these plants and fungi and planet Earth that have been given to humans to enhance our contact and our consciousness. And though I always like to emphasize that we have this access within our own system, within our own inner cosmology, we have access. And I experienced it from my childhood on, and Nisha has too. And so we really promote learning about how to access it from within, and that the psychedelics and the plants and fungi are our helpers and here for extra guidance and a boost. But we really want to help teach people how to connect with this in a natural way from within. So that's what tonight's show is about. We want to get deep into talking with you about how to enhance your own connectivity, to grow your own neural pathways, and to realize that no matter what age we are, right, we've got access. We've got neuroplasticity that can be grown even as we get older. So what would you like to say next? Or Scott, do you have a question?
Let me come in for a moment. First of all, I'm loving everything you're saying, and I'm going to read some comments from our audience. And I want to just briefly riff on what you're saying about how important it is for us to seek within. And that's a big part of, I think, a lot of the shift in America, because most Americans were raised Christian, and the Christian traditions, most of the Christian forms have dramatically stuffed us from direct contact. Do you know that up until 20 years ago, the Catholic Church had a stance against meditation because it could create a false sense of connection to God?
Whoa.
That was up until just 20 years ago, right? So we're coming out of this time of being stifled. And I think for, I'm a child of the 60s. I think for many of us, it was psychedelics that woke us up, that oh wow, I remember now, it helped break us out of the matrix, if you will. Is my internet okay? I'm noticing it's a little spotty. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
you went out for a couple.
I'm going to read a few comments. Pardon?
Did you want to read a few comments, did you say?
Yes, I'm going to read a few comments. So from Sylvia, she writes, the last few years, I've been blessed to be part of a shamanic trance experience led by Susan Josephson, the daughter of Felicitas Goodman, who was one of my father's teachers on his spiritual path.
I
which
know her.
included-
Mhm.
Oh, okay, there you go. And speaking of knowing, Ayada writes, oh my gosh, Guadalupe de los Rios. I organized a tour of Vancouver Island for her around 1998, and she
Yes.
stayed with me in Victoria. She gave
Wow.
presentations, ceremony, and several places. What an incredible woman. It was a loss to many of us when she passed only a few years later. So there
That's
you go. Small
wonderful
world.
that you got to be with her too. Wow. Oh, that's so great.
Don Drake writes, drumming is a powerful way of accessing altered states of awareness. That's right. Absolutely. And then we do have our first question, which is Susan Bloomquist, who acknowledges what an awesome story of lineage for Nisha and also for Norma. But she's asking, can you actually define lucid dreaming exactly?
Yeah, that's a great question and a great place to start in all of this journey, right? To know what is lucid dreaming. And the definition is really a lucid dream is when you are aware that you are dreaming within the dream. And I like to expand that a little further too, because we can have different levels of lucidity in dreams. And sometimes we might have a dream where we are going around with the slight inkling that we could be dreaming, and we wake up and we're like, oh yeah, I kind of knew I was dreaming. Now, I wouldn't call that a full lucid dream, although it's along the way of a full lucid dream. That's more of a semi-lucid dream. We can also have dreams that are very visceral and very tangible and vivid. But if we don't know that we're dreaming within the dream, that also isn't a lucid dream. And that's not to say that any of these other types of dreaming aren't valuable, which we're going to talk a lot more about too, how all the different types of dreaming are important. But a lucid dream is one in which you become certain that you are dreaming within the dream. And when you have that aha moment, that click on, the quality of the dream really does change, where it feels hyper real. It feels as real as being in this physical reality. And you are aware that because you are dreaming, you can do things and interact with the dream material in ways that you wouldn't otherwise be able to if you didn't know you were dreaming. For example, if you're running from a monster and then you become lucid and realize you're dreaming, realize you can't be hurt, you can turn and face what's chasing you in an empowered way. You can also fly and feel the heightened sensorial enjoyment of being able to fly in the sky. You can summon people to you. You can change the environment to some degrees. And so there's all these ways once you do become aware that you're dreaming within the dream that you can really interact with that dream material. And we're going to talk a lot more about that. So just to start us off with as that definition, lucid dreaming is when you know you're dreaming within the dream. And then when you're able to lucid dream, there's techniques and ways to sustain the lucid dream too, because a lot of things that people run into when they're first lucid dreaming are the excitement around like, I became lucid, I'm so happy. And then they wake themselves up. And so the first step is to learn how to become lucid within your dream regularly, and then to be able to sustain your lucid dream. And then there's so much more that you can do after that too, which we'll definitely touch on as we're talking here tonight.
There are practices that we have in our book that help you to start moving toward having more lucid dreams. And the book and the cards are divided up into 3 sections.
And maybe we should just introduce that
Yes.
whole thing too. So
Yeah.
we co-wrote together, bringing together our 2 knowledge bases around the drumming journeys, the shadow work, the trauma healing coming from my mom, and then the lucid dreaming experiences. And there's a lot of firsthand experiences too in the book we co-wrote. And then we also created it as a package. It's a book and an oracle deck. So there's cards in order to learn the skills of lucid dreaming. And the reason we chose to do it this way is because as you all heard in the intro, in the beginning, I was reading and consuming a lot of content around lucid dreaming and absorbing it, loving it, learning from it. Then there came a point when I started to teach other people about it and talk to other people about their experiences with lucid dreaming and what their pain points were around being able to actually have lucid dreaming and have lucid dreams and being able to sustain the practice. And something I heard a lot of is that people would read through a book, be really excited about it, do the practices a couple times, have a lucid dream, but then kind of fall off of the practice, right? You can consume the content and then get distracted with something else. So we wanted to create a fun and easy way to learn lucid dreaming and have it be non-linear too, because the dream time is non-linear. So having a way for you to be able to pick a card and see what you're intuitively led to and what lesson, and each card has a lesson related to the dream time and to lucid dreaming, as well as in the book is called Lucid Dreaming, Lucid Living, because it has a message around your daytime waking reality too, like you would find in a traditional oracle deck that helps you to have guidance for the questions of your life. And so much of what my mom and I's work is about is helping people to integrate ordinary reality and the dream time. And lucid dreaming is not something that just exists in your dream world and is cut off from your waking reality. Really, the two play together and infuse one another. And when you become conscious and lucid, both while asleep and while awake, that's where the true magic happens. And so with the deck, it's teaching through pulling each card what you need to learn, what messages are there for lucid dreaming. And it helps with the practice of it because, again, it's not about, you can read the book from start to finish like a regular book, but also if you just need a little extra inspiration around, okay, what do I want to learn today? Then you pull a card and you're able to get that message and that teaching in that way.
The cards, Nisha created this whole method of working with, created the cards, and then dividing lucid dreaming teachings up into 3 different sections that create the 3 different types of cards in the deck. And so one of the types of cards are these the dream signs.
State checks.
Oh, these are state checks, yeah. And the state checks are when you're in ordinary reality during the day, you need to do certain things that help you to check what state you're in. And like we think to ourselves, oh, we know we're awake during the daytime, but are you really? Are you dreaming or are you,
Everybody ask yourselves that right now. Am I dreaming or am I awake?
But there are these state checks that you can do in ordinary reality. And what that's doing though really is programming your mind to question the state when you're in the dream time. So you need to do the daytime practice of state checks to get ready for your mind to ask that same question when you're sleeping. So state checks, for example, you may have heard the one that Carlos Castaneda would always talk about, which was looking at your hands in ordinary reality. And then when you go into the dream time, remember to look at your hands. In ordinary reality, your hands will stay the same, 5 fingers on each hand. But in the dream time, if you remember to look at your hands, something strange will happen. They'll have 6 fingers. One time Nisha had them turn into lobster claws. I heard another woman say that she was a waitress and her hand turned into a teapot, So something strange will happen with your hands in the dream time. Another state check is to jump up off the floor. In ordinary reality, we jump up, we come back down. But if you jump up in the dream time, there'll be a hesitancy, or you jump up and you might keep going. Something different will happen with jumping. Mm-hmm. Or you can press your finger into your hand or into a hard surface. In ordinary reality, it stops, it doesn't go through. But in the dream time, it'll go on through.
Yeah. And the reason that this is the first thing that we're talking about is because there are a few parts to being able to become a regular lucid dreamer, really taking it on as a practice. The first one is to begin cultivating a questioning mind, like my mom was just talking about, where you're asking yourself the question, could I be dreaming? Is it possible? Because again, like she said, we think, of course, I'm not dreaming right now. And yet when we're in our dreams, we also think that. Even if we see a pink elephant in the middle of the room, it's only when we wake up, we're like, of course I was dreaming. There's no pink elephants that just randomly walk into my living room, but we take it for granted. And so what you're training your mind to do is to question what state of reality you're in. And I saw a comment earlier, just a few moments ago, where somebody said the Toltecs say that we're always dreaming. And that's similar with Tibetan dream yoga. And a big part of that approach of it is training the mind to notice the illusory nature of all realities, meaning when you're awake and when you're dreaming. And really, it is a practice of cultivating a mind of presence, because by questioning, you're bringing yourself into a hyper-aware state of checking your surroundings, noticing your environment, becoming present with where you are in the present moment, because so much of our time we exist in the past or the future, not present, right? So it's bringing yourself into presence, questioning what state of reality you're in, what state of consciousness you're in. Are you in waking reality? Are you in the dream time? Where are you? And then, like my mom was just talking about, the first thing that you start to do then is perform a state check. And the reason that you do that is because, like I mentioned earlier too, in your dreams, sometimes you can have the sense that you might be dreaming, but you don't become lucid. That's because, we can have the sense of things, but when you do a state check, it's a foolproof way to test what state you're in. And Inception is a really popular movie that many of you have probably seen. When he's spinning the top in that movie, that's a state check to see if he's dreaming or if he's awake. And the reason it's so important is because it gives you that moment of realization. When you perform a state check and you see, oh, my hand turned into a lobster claw, or oh, I jumped up and I can fly, then you know you are in the dream time. And then, like I told you in the definition of what lucid dreaming is, when you know with certainty that you are dreaming, you become lucid. So the state check, a lot of times, is really the key that flips you into that fully lucid state. Sometimes you can just go into it naturally, but to guarantee regularly that you're able to switch into lucidity, doing the state checks throughout the day, you're doing it while you're awake, then trains your mind to also do it while you're sleeping. And when you do it in a dream, then you become lucid.
I just saw somebody here write, oh, that's what I've learned. It's okay. Been a while since I've seen myself flying. Yeah, that's a great example of becoming lucid in the dream. It often happens as you start to fly. That's like gravity is no more. Like we were saying, you jump up in ordinary reality and you come back down. But in the dream, woo, you realize, oh, if I kick my feet, I can take off. I'm flying. Well, you can remain non-lucid in flying, right? I've had a lot of dreams where I'm flying in the dreams, but I don't become lucid, right? But if you start to practice these state checks during the day, then when you fly in the dream, it'll be a click, a signal to you, oh, I can ask the question, am I dreaming? And then you're like, yes, I'm flying. Oh, I'm dreaming. And then you wake up in the dream. And then that's the very beginning, the tip of the iceberg. And we want to get into the fuller iceberg tonight too, like all the things that can happen in the lucid dream state. But we're talking about the entry to it right now.
And there's one more component, which I'll just briefly speak on and then hear what you have to say, Sue Scott. But so there's the state checks, the questioning mind, and then dream signs. And that's the last part to this beginning lucid dreaming learning. And dream signs are kind of like my mom said, flying is a kind of heightened state of a dream sign, but really they are things that regularly occur in your dreams. So to begin lucid dreaming, first you need to really connect in with your dream time, which requires remembering your dreams and then writing them down. And when you write them down, you're building this relationship between you and your dream time, and you're showing that you are valuing it and you see it as important, and then your dream world opens up to you more. And then when you're starting to catalog your dreams, you can see these common occurrences. And so dream signs are things that often happen in your dreams. My mom has a lot of dreams by water, by large bodies of water. So that's a dream sign for her. I also have a lot of dreams. One kind of funny dream sign is that I don't really like public restrooms. And in my dreams, I'll go in and they'll be like really gross. And I'm like, I want to get out of here. So that's a dream sign that's very mundane. And yet mundane dream signs, or going into the elevator, is kind of a common one for people. They'll go into the elevator in their dreams and weird things will happen. Mundane dream signs are great because what you want to do is then anytime you interact with that dream sign in waking ordinary reality, you perform a state check. So for example, every time I go into an elevator, because I have elevators as a dream sign, then I will, if it's like, no, if somebody else is in the elevator with me, I'll flip my hands back and forth and say, could I be dreaming? State check. If nobody else is in the elevator with me, I might jump up and see if I fly. State check. But that's what you're doing, is regularly, when you encounter your dream signs in waking reality, performing a state check, because there's things that commonly occur in your dreams, then the chances of it happening in your dream are really high. And if you're training your mind to perform a state check every time you're in this situation that often happens in your dreams, you will do it while you're dreaming. And again, you'll become lucid.
When you were saying all that great stuff, I saw a question here. How do I extend the flying time when I'm flying in a dream? And how do I remember it better? How do I extend the flying time? See, that's a great question that leads into what you talk about extending the lucidity. How do you stay lucid?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to that for just a moment?
Definitely, yeah. So that's step 2 is, step 1 is becoming lucid. And then, as mentioned earlier, a lot of beginning lucid dreamers will get really excited when they have a lucid dream and just wake themselves up, which is not something to be hard on yourself about. It's like really a stage of lucid dreaming. And yet there are techniques that you can use in order to sustain the duration of your lucid dream. Really what it's about is bringing more focused awareness, especially if the lucid dream is starting to fade rather than just you pop out of it because you're so excited. You can focus your attention on a point on the floor or on the ground, wherever you are. And by having that focused, pointed attention, the dream will form back around you, because again, it's bringing the awareness back into the present moment, back into the presence of lucid awareness. You can also focus on a single object or point in the dream. It's really about really interacting with the dream material in a pointed focus way. Another thing you can do is spin around in a circle, and there's some science around it even that's pretty interesting, but it has to do with your inner ear and the balancing mechanism. But if you spin in the dream, you know, you're lucid in a dream and you spin around in a circle, it will help you to reform the lucid dream around you and bring lucidity into a clear presence. So with the earlier question about how can you keep flying, really, when you become lucid, then you're able to fly in a way that you can't necessarily fly in a regular dream, because in regular dreams it might just stop happening or whatever, and you don't have much agency. In a lucid dream, because you know you're dreaming, you can keep flying and keep going, and then if you're able to maintain the lucidity, then you can maintain flight too. Now there is this third element that we'll talk about a little bit later, but we call it the co-author, which is this other presence, this other awareness, if you want to call it your subconscious, your higher self, God, the universe, etc., that you are meeting and even more directly facing within a lucid dream, that plays with your dreams with you. And so sometimes things won't go according to plan, even if you're lucid dreaming. Some people say, oh, you know, in lucid dreams, people can just do whatever they want and control the dream totally. And really, that's not my experience. And many other lucid dreamers confer that you have a lot of agency, but you don't have total control over the dream. There still is this other force that you're interacting with. And it's really a joyful experience to have that and to see and come in direct connection with this co-authoring force within your dreams.
I can see that you're checking the questions. So I'm not going to repeat them. I'll let you choose, Norma and Nisha, which questions to answer. But I do want to bring us to, I think, a very fundamental one, which is the idea that this is actually a dream world, which is something I personally believe. But I noticed that somebody else mentioned the Toltec belief around that, we're in a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream, that this is a dream within the astral plane, and the astral plane is a dream within the causal plane. So I'd love to just get your feedback on that. And then there's about a dozen questions I'll let you tackle that our audience has asked you.
A dream within a dream within a dream. Having studied shamanically all over the world, there are 3 basic dimensions that we go to, right? There's the underworld, the middle world, and the upper world. And then there are levels and levels within them. In our book, we write about the 6 realms of dreaming in Tibetan dream teachings. So, and in the Bible, even St. Paul talked about going to the 7th heaven. So you hear in all different cultures about the many levels of lucidity that you can go to. I really appreciate the teachings, though, of the 3 basic sections of other consciousnesses that you can go to. It's very important that the teachings tell us to go to the underworld first. Why? Because we go into our own unconscious. In our own unconscious, we encounter our trauma wounds, we encounter our fears, nightmares, the things that have hurt us. And that's where we need to go first. Why? Because however power has been misused against you, you will have the tendency to misuse power in that same way. So the ancient teachings say we need to go into the underworld with our guide, power animal, and guides that help us to encounter our wounded places, right? And then heal those, heal the ways that we use power, heal our trauma wounds. So a lot of dream work in the beginning, even when you're a child, you're encountering your monsters, your boogeymen, the scary things that have hurt you. That's so important to realize that's not a bad thing. That's the beginning part of dreaming, that we have to encounter them and we have to heal the ways that we work with power so that we're not going to misuse power. So in all the ancient teachings, the drumming journey, you go down into your unconscious, down into the underworld, get that healing of the ways that we use power so that we're more impeccable with power. Then you're taken to the upper world journeys. In the upper worlds, you go to palaces of light, crystal palaces. You meet with beings of power. You're not really supposed to go there, though, until you've dealt with your own misuses of power and the ways you've been hurt and heal those more, so that you're not just encountering grandiosity and being in your shadow of grandiosity and ego inflation, but you're being with the realms of great powers then with a humility and interacting with beings of other dimensions that are usually often in human form, but you're interacting with them with a sense of humility and your own right use of power. So if you've studied different religious traditions, you can hear what I'm saying. In all of these traditions, there's teachings about having to go within first and spend many years within, surrendering and dealing with your own healing before you travel in those other dimensions of power. Then there's the 3rd dimension, which is the middle world. The middle world is linear time-space reality. And that's the final place, not the first place you're supposed to go, but the final place, because shamanically speaking, we can actually change history and change the future, right? You've heard the saying, you can heal 7 generations backwards and 7 generations forwards. We really can heal time, space, reality when we're using power correctly and in alignment. So that's a great power to have, to be able to heal the middle world and in ordinary reality. So the middle world journeys are actually the final journeys. So that's one aspect of multidimensionality that we're talking about, right, Scott? Like the dreams within the dreams. And nowadays, though, like think about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once and all of the Marvel movies. You know, a lot of insight is coming about traveling in multidimensional realities. And it's amazing, right? That the common person can go to the theater and watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. And the kids are being affirmed that there are all of these multi-dimensions going on all at once, and that we might be in these other dimensions all at once. I'm a person that's actually from a long time ago been having these dreams of being in other dimensions all at once, being me, but being in these other dimensions too. Maybe some of you have had those dreams too, but I'm just blown away that in our times, like movies are being made about it, and the common public is being able to know this, you know, like I think in the Aquarian age, we are really going somewhere quickly into the access of multidimensionality for all of us, and we're being rapidly prepared for it, right?
Yeah, and the most popular movies, the Marvel movies, are all about the multi-universe.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like kids are really getting indoctrinated with it, which is beautiful.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Now is the time when it is in popular awareness in ways that it hasn't been before. Similarly with lucid dreaming too, there's been waves of interest in it, obviously, but this is definitely another moment where there's so much fascination throughout the generations with being able to lucid dream. And in the same thread of talking about it's all a dream and training our consciousness, that's actually the second book that my mom and I are working on about psycho-navigation, which you can hear in that word. It's about knowing how to navigate in your psyche. And lucid dreaming is a really powerful practice for that, because it gives you the ability to become aware within the dreamtime state of your psyche, and to see, when you have a lucid dream, you really see how, oh, I thought this was so real. I thought this was so, the thing, factual. But now I realize it was all a dream. And that's with the Tibetan dream yoga too, like you heard me talking about earlier. That is the practice of realizing that, oh, I also think that this physical reality is so real, and yet it's a dream as well. And that's not to say it in a spiritual bypassing or an overly, just taking it for granted way. Like there are rules to these different realities that we are navigating through. In a dream time, there is not death, and you can jump off the bridge and fly, right? But in physical reality, there's gravity. That's a reality and a rule that exists here. And so the same thing will not happen. You'll crash. Gravity will take its toll, right? If you jump and think you can fly in waking reality. And so it's not about disregarding the realities once you learn how to become lucid. It's really about becoming actually more aware of the different rules and spaces that your consciousness is traveling through all the time. And again, even in waking reality, we are going through various states of consciousness constantly, drinking coffee, getting altered that way, or having a certain experience that's very heightened, having a spiritual experience, having more mundane experiences. In the dream time too, when you become lucid, you realize, and also non-lucid, you realize there's all these different types of dream states that you go through. And then another aspect of that is with out-of-body experiences and astral projection. And I've had a lot of those too, and I've worked with astral projection and out-of-body experiences a lot as well. And those are a different state. They're slightly different from lucid dreaming. And so that's a whole world and reality that you learn the rules of too, and that you learn how to navigate. And so really in realizing it's all a dream, so to speak, you realize that there are all of these spaces and opportunities to become lucidly aware of what reality you're in, and then work with it and navigate it through that more conscious awareness, which is so empowering and so powerful. And back to what my mom was saying earlier, we're really on a big mission of helping everybody realize that they have access to that within themselves, which I'm sure all of you know and feel deeply in yourselves already. But it is so exciting because you do really gain a new level of confidence and empowerment when you realize that we were born to be navigators of consciousness and be aware, and really we can all do it.
And I want to highlight something you were saying about the rules in the different types of multidimensional consciousness. When I lived in New Mexico, there was a teacher who a lot of my students were also going to, and she was, I say, confused about ordinary reality and the dream time, which people can become confused, and it's crucial. It's like life and death important that we learn the rules in the different dimensions of consciousness and keep those rules. Okay, so she was teaching her students that we can ignore the rules in ordinary reality. If you're really enlightened and living in the dream time, you don't have to pay attention to the rules of ordinary reality. And so she told them, I'm going to prove this to you. I'm going to the big bridge in Taos, New Mexico, and I'm going to jump off of it. I'm going to prove to you that we can be ignoring the rule of gravity, and I'm going to live. I'm going to jump off the bridge and I'm going to live. So she jumped off the bridge and she died. She died, right? She crashed and her body was dead. Her students were all confused, and I mean, some of them really on the edge of maybe a psychotic episode or something, trying to cope with this. And they were saying, well, she was a master because, so what if she left her body, because then she was going into another dimension of consciousness. And no, that's not right. Like, we are here to honor the rules of ordinary reality and learn how to be impeccable with the rules in this dimension and honor them, and then learn the rules of the other dimensions and be impeccable with the rules there. And so it was a big opportunity, to teach people there about this basic truth that we are here to be completely humble and honest about our limitations and the rules in ordinary reality, right? And then to be in other states of consciousness where there are other rules. So the Aboriginal people talk about this, that we're supposed to be learning as we go along to walk fully, humbly present in ordinary reality and be with harmony and create harmony by being attentive to ordinary reality, and then fully walk in the dream time simultaneously. So they said, the Aboriginal people said, they had to walk very slowly, because to be fully aware in other dimensions while being fully aware in ordinary reality, they had to be very careful to sing the song to this rock, to speak to this tree, to sing the song of that bird in the dimensions as well as in ordinary reality. So, wow, that practice of being fully conscious and doing the right thing in the various dimensions. How do you like those examples?
And off of that, just one more thing too, which is, some people wonder, well, if I start lucid dreaming a lot, and if I start seeing that I'm becoming lucid in dreams, am I going to get confused? Or the lines going to blur between the dream time and ordinary reality in a bad way? And of course, different people have different predispositions psychologically. It's great to work with therapists and psychologists if that is something that you're dealing with. But for most people, really what happens is actually you become better at distinguishing the different states of reality, because you're consciously and continuously questioning and studying what reality is like when you're awake. You're studying, okay, what are the laws of this place? Like, can I put my finger through my hand? Can I do these different things? Bringing yourself into a hyper presence and awareness. And then when you become lucid in dreams, especially regularly, then you really start to know what the lucid state is like. And for myself, when I started off, I was doing all of these practices regularly and doing state checks really regularly. And the state checks or what would help me become lucid most of the time. However, as I started to really learn the lucid state in my own inner terrain, then I would switch into lucidity without doing a state check, because I would just be in the dream. And I had trained my consciousness to be aware of what the dream time is like. And so then I'd say, oh, wait, this is the dream reality. I know this for sure, and become lucid there. And similarly with out-of-body experiences, which, just to give a side of telling about the distinction between out-of-body experiences and lucid dreaming, a lucid dream generally starts while you're in a dream. So you're already immersed in the dream material, and then you have that moment where you say, hey, could this be a dream? Question it and become lucid within the dream. Out-of-body experiences oftentimes happen while you're in bed in the in-between state. And a lot of people have experienced this in-between state with sleep paralysis, which is where your conscious mind is coming back online before the effects of your sleeping body being paralyzed, so you don't act out your dreams, have worn off. And this is, within our minds, within our bodies, we have this mechanism to help us not act out our dreams. And so it's natural. It happens to a lot of people. And yet it's a perfect moment to be able to go into an out-of-body experience, because your body is still immobile, but your conscious lucid awareness is turned back online. And a lot of people will have scary visions and scary things happen in the state, because it is a disorienting state in and of itself, and you're in the in-between. But if you can move past the fears around that, which we teach and talk a lot about how to move past the fears of the sleep paralysis state, you can really use it as a springboard for being able to have an out-of-body experience. Because then what you do is, when your conscious mind comes back online, your physical body still can't move. You can pull your dream body, your astral body, however you want to name it, you can pull that up out of your sleeping body. And then you are in this physical world reality, so to speak, that's slightly different too, though. You're in the third state that we're talking about, which is kind of this astral out-of-body experience state. And you learn the rules of that too, and you learn how that feels different, and you learn how to study that reality as well. So you're hearing in these different examples that there are ways to train your mind, your psyche, your conscious awareness, your lucid awareness, to recognize what state you're in.
So I just want to ask everybody out there, have you had a sleep paralysis moment? Have any of you had that, where you're waking up and then you can't move? You're not able to move your body. So that's what she's talking about, that sleep paralysis. I don't know if any of you or all of you have had it, but it's kind of common, and people get afraid when they have it. And so lots of times scary images or beings come into their mind when they're in that sleep paralysis. But what Nisha's saying is that in that time when your brain is biochemically not yet activating your body, it's a very valuable moment. See a lot of yeses there. Thank you. I see a lot of yeses. See, it's a very valuable moment, because it's a doorway, it's a portal into lucidity, and possibly into an out-of-body experience. So then she went on to talk about out-of-body experiences, and she's had many of them, and is very adept at traveling in that zone. So I just want to encourage you to experiment with lots of different ways of being in these other states. So out-of-body experiences, I just wanted to say a little bit more about that and give an example of it, because you may have heard about this in some readings that you've done or something. But Nisha, would you give that example of, like, when you were traveling, experimenting with the fact that you were out of body but able to travel in this dream body to other places?
Absolutely, yeah. And you all might be familiar with Robert Monroe too, who has done a lot of writing about how to have out-of-body experiences and developed technologies around it too, with sounds. So it is a state that people have studied for a long time, and really tried to verify that it is a true experience that is really happening. And so for myself too, having these out-of-body experiences and being very excited about what potential they had. I'll start from the beginning. So I was in a sleep state. I was dreaming, and then I had the sleep paralysis experience where my mind came online before my physical body was able to move. And because I had been working with it a lot, working with the fears that arose, in this moment, I wasn't afraid. I was excited. I said, okay, good. Now I can pull up out of my sleeping body. And a lot of times it'll feel kind of like Velcro, where you're pulling your dreaming body out and it's unvelcroing from your sleeping body. And so then I came out all the way and was in my room and looking around my room, which looked very similar to my physical room, just had a slightly different, more dreamlike quality to it as well. I looked down at my hands because it's good to do state checks in the out-of-body experience too. And they were a bit more solid and looked closer to my physical hands than they do in lucid dream experiences a lot of times, but they were glowing blue. And I said, okay, I know that I am definitely not in a waking reality experience and state. So then I thought, okay, well, I remembered that when I went to sleep, I had the intention, and this is a really important part of lucid dreaming. And this whole practice is setting clear intentions of what you'd like to do once you become lucid or once you have an out-of-body experience. So for that night, I had the intention to try and go make it to visit my friend who was in Hawaii, who was very far away because I was in Southern Oregon at the time. And so I was walking around my room and I said, okay, I'm going to get out of my room now and I'm going to start going. And I tried to go out the window, but it was not quite right. And so I said, no, actually, I'm going to go out the door. And so then I went out the door and I was out in front of my house in this out-of-body experience in my dream body. And I was thinking, how am I going to get all the way to Hawaii? I don't do I fly? What do I do? And I started to picture the oceans of Hawaii and this very particular beach. And as I pictured it, I felt myself flying kind of through a wormhole almost towards, and this big gust of like a wind kind of pushing me back. But no, I was so focused that I would make it all the way there. And I made it all the way there to the Hawaiian beach. And then I thought about my friend's house and I made it all the way there to the house. And I went into the room and I looked around and I was like, I'm going to study what's in this room and where everything is, because when I wake up, I want to check if this is where it was, if this is what it was. And so I studied it all. And then I woke back up eventually and I called my friend and I said, hey, did you have this poster over here and this thing right here? And he was like, yeah, I did. And I was able to verify, like, wow, I really had this experience and I really was able to do that. So that's one example of the out-of-body state and what it's like and what types of things you can do within it.
And then there are amazing things that we are called upon, I think, by spirit to do when we can become more masterful in these realms. So I, for example, through many, many years of my life have been called in these out-of-body states to go to places around the world where there are traumatic things happening. And in this dreamtime lucid state or out-of-body state, I visit situations where people are dying and I help them. In real life, I've been a hospice chaplain for many years, and so I help people dying and passing through that portal in ordinary reality. But in the dreamtime, I would be taken to all different places around the planet where difficult things were happening that I didn't consciously know about. So here's one example of it. But one night in a lucid state, I was taken to Japan there was a big recreation building and children and teachers were there playing in this big like gymnasium type building. And I knew that a tsunami was coming and that they were going to die. And so I whispered in the teacher's ears, let's draw them all together in a big circle and all the adults surround them and sing songs to them and comfort them and help them know everything's going to be okay. So we did. We huddled around, everyone was together and we're all singing. And then the giant waves, could see them crashing in and the building was crashing down. The next day I woke up and I thought, wow, that was a strange dream. Why did I go there? Why did that happen? And I don't often turn on the radio, but in that moment I turned on the radio purposefully, Spirit had me do that because I heard on the news that a tsunami had hit in Japan. And the only thing that had, the deaths that had happened were in a recreational building where all the children and the teachers were. And so there I was, having been guided to help them, get ready for it so that the passage could be more comforting for them. So we have missions in ordinary reality and in the dream time. We all do. You do. I just want you to know that and be aware that the dream time is super important, right? We are multidimensional. We are doing a lot of things. We're serving in a lot of ways. It almost brings tears to my eyes, to realize how much capacity we have, and Spirit needs us to be awake in the dream time because there's a lot for us to do in the multi-dimensions.
And one thing that we talk about too is the beauty of this work is that you can approach it from so many different directions. People are coming at it from a more psychological or spiritual or scientific lens. And really, with lucid dreaming, it is very approachable from any of those ways. And so if you want to take it as a spiritual practice, like you're hearing, there's so much that you can do with that and so much that you can do to connect into other helping of people, other dimensions, your higher self, the universe. It's all there for very transcendent, incredible experiences. Also, if you just are more interested in a psychological standpoint, it's the ability to come into direct consciousness or direct communication and communion with your subconscious and with your inner self. And so you can work through, like you're hearing with my mom talking about too, past traumas. You can work through complementarily doing in waking reality your shadow work, working with a therapist, and then in the dream time, going and finding your inner child and being able to have a lucid conversation with them, being able to talk to archetypes that will help you work with these energies inside of yourself, being able to work through your fears, the traumas and how they are manifesting in the dream realms, which oftentimes are more symbolic or fantastical. And so it's really a powerful practice that way. And then from the scientific lens too, it's amazing the studies that are currently happening now as lucid dreaming is being more accepted in the scientific community around how it does help with strengthening your memory recall, the neuroplasticity of your mind, also being able to train in skills in lucid dreaming that then have real world waking effects. So like say if you want to learn the piano and you practice it in the lucid dream, then they're seeing that, oh, that skill is actually being improved tenfold because this person is doing it in a lucid realm and then waking up. So there's so many beautiful ways to come at it from. And so I just like to say that for everybody that's listening, there's a way that an entry point that you'll probably be interested in these things.
I see somebody here saying, Dana saying that lots of times that you're doing so much in the dream time that you wake up feeling exhausted and you're not sure what it is, all that you're doing, but it just feels like a lot, right? A lot happens in the dream time. And waking up feeling exhausted. Well, I don't know. If I was talking with you more deeply, I would talk about, like, why are you waking up feeling exhausted? Because I would prefer that you would not be exhausted when you woke up from it, but there might be some lesson in that, like why are you getting exhausted in the dream time? There might be a lesson for ordinary reality that is trying to come through. So, feeling like if you're feeling exhausted in ordinary reality and you go into the dream time, it might be reflected in the dream time. Anyway, I'm just picking up on that part. I don't want you to feel exhausted by the dream time.
And that's a question a lot of people ask too often is like, well, if I'm lucid dreaming and I'm like so awake and so aware in my dreams, am I actually resting? Am I getting sleep? And really, like my mom's saying too, it should be true that actually you feel more rested. You feel really, because you're having these profound experiences of awareness, it doesn't mean that your body, your physical body isn't resting. And oftentimes when I wake up from a lucid dream, I feel so energized for the day and so excited because it is so empowering to see all that I'm capable of, and say if I've gone into the dream time with a problem that I need to solve or something that's weighing on my mind, become lucid within it, and then I'm able to work through that in a really profound way, then I wake up like, yes, I'm ready to face the day now. So yes, that's just to say, for all of you listening, if you've had a lot of lucid dreams or you haven't, really, it is a very enlivening experience, and hopefully will not feel draining to you. And I also see somebody's question up earlier.
Can I just say one more little
Yeah,
thing
go
about
ahead.
it? I don't want to imply, though, that there's anything bad or wrong about feeling exhausted,
Mm-mm.
because that's just a message. Like I always emphasize that every single message that comes is good and important. So you just explore it. You just ask questions about, what does that mean? And that segues a little bit with somebody's question up there about interpretation of dreams. So we don't really ascribe to set dream interpretation books so much. Like you can look up the meaning of, if I dream of a ladder, or if I dream of a black cat, or things like that, and look up the meaning of it, but it's really somebody else's interpretation. So you have to go into yourself and discover what the dream symbols mean for you. And they're always meaningful. Our unconscious is so crafty in giving us just the right symbolic meaning of the symbol that you're having in your dream is important. So I always say, don't disregard anything. Be curious about every aspect of your dreams and the symbols that are happening in them, because they're beautifully presented to you to lead you to understanding. Martine Prechtel, who wrote Secrets of the Talking Jaguar. I love that book about the Mayan culture. In the beginning of it, he said, "What is our task as humans? Well, listen to the macaw, the bird of paradise, cawing in the tree, and it's squawking at you, and it's saying, put together the puzzle pieces of your life. That's your task. Put together the puzzle pieces of your life." So our dreams are giving us all the puzzle pieces. And in fact, one time I even had a dream that I saw a big hand coming with a puzzle piece and putting it into the puzzle for me. So we're being helped in our dream time, I guess is what we're trying to say. We're being helped all the time to put together the puzzle pieces of our particular incarnational destiny path. The dreams are giving us the information that we need.
I really like what you're saying about that too, in relation to lucid dreaming versus other types of dreams, because like you're hearing, every message that's brought to you in the dream time is important. And sometimes people can get overly fixated on making a hierarchy of the types of dreaming and saying, I just want to lucid dream all the time. All the rest of the types of dreams are not valuable to me. Or, getting really fixated on, just having certain types of dreams.
Like always wanting to fly.
Always wanting to fly. But really, every type of dream, as you hear my mom saying, is valuable. And it's really about honoring the dream time as a whole and writing down your dreams regularly. Sometimes we can wake up from a dream and think, well, that was ridiculous and doesn't relate to anything, so I'm not going to write it down. But so often, in my writing down practice, I'll wake up from a dream like that and be like, okay, whatever, but I still write it down because it's a part of my practice. And then a week later, I'll look back at it and I'll realize, wow, this is actually what was going to happen in a week from now. This is amazing. Or I'll see synchronicities. I'll see amazing messages. I'll understand it more after some time has passed. And so non-lucid dreams, semi-lucid dreams, fully lucid dreams, dreams even that just seem like a jumble of emotions, they're all communicating something to you. And so if you really do the practice of tracking your dream time holistically, then the puzzle pieces, like my mom is saying, start to come together and you see the full picture. So that's just an encouragement, especially if people are just starting off lucid dreaming. Sometimes they can get discouraged because they're not having lucid dreams and then feel like, well, I'm not doing anything then. But really, by even taking on just remembering your dreams, writing them down, giving value to the dream time, you're doing so much, and so much will open up to you.
Sometimes people say that they don't remember their dreams and maybe they aren't dreaming, but it's been proven scientifically really that everybody dreams, that we have to dream, right? So one little tip, if it's difficult for you to remember your dreams, maybe you've heard this before, but when you first wake up, if you just lay there very still and don't move a muscle, don't even turn your head from side to side, but just lay very still when you're in that between state, because our minds are like an etch-a-sketch. If you move the slightest bit, you will erase the neurological pattern that just happened in the dream. So try to lay very still, not move, and the dream can be accessed then. And then if you just remember one symbol from it, dwell on that symbol, and it's almost like it'll refill out, like you focus on that one symbol and then the rest will start to come and you'll be able to remember it. So Nisha's holding up the card.
Yeah, I want to start showing you all some of the cards too from our deck, and related to what my mom was just talking about. This is the first card in the deck, and it's the dream recall card. And we created this metaphor for remembering your dreams, which is catching the tail of the dragon.
See the little person
See the
there?
person right there that's catching that tail, because really that is what it's like, is if you can grab onto just a piece, a feeling, one moment, one image from your dream, and stick with it, oftentimes you'll find that you've caught the tail of the dragon, and then you're on that ride back into the full unfolding of what your dream was, into remembering it all. And so to not get discouraged, but just try to remember in the same position that you wake up in, even a slight inkling or feeling of what the dream you were having. More times than not, you'll probably find that quite a bit of it starts to return to you. So we've covered a lot of ground, and I saw earlier, much earlier, and then another question again around shared dreams and shared lucid dreaming, which is a really amazing and fascinating topic too. And a lot of times what it takes and why people don't have that as often, or there isn't as much literature out there about it, is it takes a community of dreamers, and it takes other people that you are in a lucid dreaming practice with. So for myself, I've had a lot of lucid dreams where I have met up with other lucid dreamers in the dream space. And it's like this recognition where I'm going through my dream lucidly, and then I look at one of the people and I'm like, wait a minute. And then I'll talk to them and I'm like, are you lucid dreaming right now too? And they'll be like, yeah. And so then we'll have this whole experience together of a shared lucid dream, which is so profound. And yet what it also takes to verify those things is knowing those dreamers in waking reality. And so that's another aspect of what my mom and I are doing, which is starting to teach workshops and lead groups in lucid dreaming. And we're getting ready to launch a masterclass in lucid dreaming too. And as you're able to build up more community of people skilled in the practice and the skill set of lucid dreaming, then that becomes more possible, because then you can have an intention with somebody else that is also on this lucid dreaming journey to try and meet up in that space.
I think I'll just segue to talk a little bit about that. I've lived in Ashland for 20 years, and I've been teaching my Journey to Completion classes here, which are in my year-long training program in using drumming journeys and your regular dream time to work on your shadow work. And so I do it in groups. And so I've been doing it all these years. And so over 4,000 people in Ashland have taken the Journey to Completion and have gone into the dream work that way. And so there's an infusion in this community, of people who are working in the dreams. And then I've taught it to people all over the place with Zoom. And so we're forming a collective of dreamers, and you might want to be in it, but we're structuring online gatherings that you'll be taught a lot about dreaming and be able to share with other dreamers and be in this consortium of dreamers. We feel like it's really important for our times, that we come together and start sharing about our dreams. And like Nisha was saying, then it starts to form a community of it. And you can imagine what Nisha and I, going into our dream time, and we often have the same symbols come into our dreams, and they're telling us slightly different things, but similar things. So the dreams are informing us of things we need to know. And then we wake up and we're able to go, wow, I had that dream that was very much the same as that dream that you're having. And yet it gives us a little more information when we're both having it. And with my journey to completion clients, often I dream things ahead of time that are going to be happening to them, or they dream of me or connecting with the same symbols that I'm connecting with. So you know what I'm saying? It's like we can meet in the dream time, is what Nisha's talking about. And we do, and we need to. And there's things that we're doing over there in the dream time in community with each other that then can be validated in ordinary reality. And that builds up our faith and confidence that we are interacting in community in purposeful ways in the dream time. So as the Aquarian age comes on, there's going to be a lot more happening with that. And Nisha's a tech person too, so she's specialized in virtual reality and augmented reality and AI through the years. And so she's a filmmaker, and she's making a film about that right now too, about this interface of artificial intelligence and our dream time and the technologies that are available, because especially as of the older generation, we can be kind of apprehensive about, whoa, what is artificial intelligence going to do? Is it going to be bad for all of us? But it's happening, just like the internet came and happened, So Nisha and people of her generation are talking about AI for good, So there's got to be many people out there like herself creating these technology experiences that are used for good. So there's so much that's going to be happening in the age of Aquarius, where our mystical abilities are interacting with technology too in amazing ways. And so I'm just saying that to say, not to buy into fear, but to realize that we're going places as an evolving humanity, like Barbara Marx Hubbard had predicted. What did she call us? Universalis, Homo Universalis. We're going into our universal consciousness and our interbeingness in those skills and realms. So that kind of relates back to what Scott was talking about in the beginning here, that we are connecting with these dimensions because we need to right now. We're the ones that are alive right now, so blessed to be alive in these bodies right now, because we've got to expand our consciousness and become more and more skillful in all of these dimensions and with these technologies, because we're going places that we need to go to help the planet.
What a wonderful, wonderful 90 minutes you blessed us with. And there's still a lot of questions coming in, but I don't want to keep you here all night long. So what I do want to do is take people to your website and spend a few minutes there where people can learn all about you. I've put the website into the chat box, but most of the people watching are watching on Facebook and on our different broadcast partners. So I'm going to spell it out for everybody briefly, and then we're going to go visit it. The website is Lucid Dreaming, lucidliving.com. Lucid Dreaming, lucidliving.com. And we're going to take a little look at all the wonderful things that you two provide here. I think we'll go all the way down to the bottom, then we'll come back up to the masterclass. And there's, a nice review really of a lot of what they've taught, some really wonderful tools. And you've got a bundle. Tell us about the bundle.
Definitely. So this is a nice little bundle that we put together that's free to get, and we called it the Dream Alchemy Bundle. And what it includes is a morning routine, which is a video around how to have a morning routine that will be very conducive to lucid dreaming. And this is the page that you go to be able to get the full bundle. And then it has a video about the evening routine and really how to cultivate a practice around lucid dreaming. And then an ebook as well that gives you more information about how to, again, do these two first steps in order to, and here's the ebook that you can see, in order to have a lucid dreaming practice and to begin really your dream practice in general of remembering your dreams and living your life with presence too. So this, you can skim through it a little bit, but you all can sign up for that bundle. And that's a great way to get started in working with us.
Tell
That is
about.
so generous of you. Thank you.
Yeah. And then also on the website too, you'll find, if you go down a little bit further, here's a link to the book and oracle deck, and it all comes together in one package. And with that, there is a 200-page book that teaches you all of what we've been talking about and so much more. I mean, as you hear, this is kind of just the tip of the iceberg of what we've been talking about tonight, but around lucid dreaming and lucid living, giving you messages for your daily life too. And then it comes with all these beautiful cards as well. And then here you'll see is a space to sign up to get on the wait list for the masterclass that we were talking about, where we teach in depth about lucid dreaming and
Forming these dream cohorts of
Forming the
people.
dream
It's a beautiful course that Nisha has designed so beautifully, and I'm in it too. But it's a 6-month, like in-depth mystery school on lucid states of consciousness and psychonavigating.
Yeah, so that'll be launching soon too.
And on the website, definitely if you go all the way to the bottom, then you can put in your name and email address, or else you've already done that. Hopefully, most of you are going to want to get the bundle. Now let's talk just a little bit more about the master class. I know that you said that it's about, you're putting it together. Do you have any sense of when that's going to be?
We're hoping to launch it this summer. So we're getting all ready with it, and it should be ready really soon. And yeah, it's exciting because the deck teaches so much, the book and the oracle deck teach so much, and yet there is so much more to teach as well. And being able to have us as the teachers and guides that are walking you through it, it's part passive, but then there'll also be moments where we all come together in community, like we're talking about, and are able to have questions, have a dialogue once you've begun doing these practices and learning from us, and then also connecting with a community of dreamers. And that's really what we are building out, is a way to continue to build this community of people who are wanting to be lucid and wanting to venture in through drumming journeys, venture in through doing their deep shadow work, and then also through lucid dreaming to be those on the planet that are doing all these things.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Stick around because we're going to spend a few minutes talking to our wild abbot Jerry about the Mystic Monastery. I also have got several announcements to make. And I know that there's a few questions you may want to respond to in the chat box. And again, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to my bundle. I will share a brief story. And actually, I'd love to get your feedback on it. One of the most extraordinary things that happened to me was when I was 21 years old. I went to bed with my girlfriend at the time. Her name was Bonnie. And I woke up around 5 o'clock in the morning. It was like not quite sunrise yet, but there was some light, in the room. And I was in my same bedroom, but there were different things on the wall. There weren't the normal things. And I looked at who was next to me in bed, and it wasn't Bonnie. It was another woman who I actually ended up having a long, long friendship with this life, and we never slept together. And all of a sudden, I realized I was in a different reality. And I'd heard a little bit about it, but I mean, I didn't have Marvel movies back then to guide my way. So I was in a different reality. And I got scared, because it was like, oh my God, and I remember being afraid, what if she wakes up before I go back to sleep? I've got to go back to the other reality. Anyway, obviously I did come back to this reality. That person ended up becoming one of my best friends. And I did have a series of dreams about that reality. In this reality, I chose to be focused on writing, directing, and producing. In that reality, I chose to stay as an actor and follow the track of an actor. And it was very interesting because my dreams paralleled my success. Like, as I became more successful as a producer, my acting career in the dream life was taking off. I made a Clint Eastwood movie. I was on the Johnny Carson show. Those are some of the dreams I remember. And then the dreams just kind of stopped. I haven't had one in 20 years about that reality. But is that a fairly common experience for people, or anything you'd like to share? I haven't talked about this in a long time because it's kind of unique. But
Isn't it fun to get to talk about it though, in this kind of setting?
it's fabulous. It's like,
we want to invite, right? So thank you so much for sharing that, because it's an example of what happens to people and they don't get to talk about it, or people will think you're crazy or something, right? But nowadays it's coming time for us to talk about all of these things. So Nisha, what was your hit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, that it's so wonderful to hear. And I think it is, common, definitely, of people experiencing and tapping into, like, is in our collective awareness now, the multiverse and all of these various realities and opportunities to explore the realities,
Different timelines.
the timelines, right? Within the dream time, we're able to tap into these parallel worlds. And to, again, what I hear in that dream too is a reoccurring dream of sorts, of going to a same place, of going to a same reality, which is very much in line with dreaming work in general, and also lucid dreaming, is that the more that you are able to be aware and to remember those places that you're going to, then you actually realize, we even have a card called Dream World Home Base, but you have these places that you can both unintentionally in the dream time, if it's non-lucid, continue to go back to, but also within a lucid dream, you can think, oh, I'm going to go back to my home base. I'm going to go back to this familiar place. So for me, one of those, which is pretty fantastical, is another planet that it's very distinct because it has a red ocean and black sand. And that's a place that I experienced once in a lucid dream, and it felt very familiar. And then I made it the intention that I wanted to go back there over and over again in lucid dreams. And so I would set that intention, and when I became lucid, I would venture over to that place and have amazing lucid dreams in that space. So that's really something you can do with the lucid dreaming practice, is go intentionally to these realities that you're regularly visiting in your dream worlds.
And psychologically speaking, let me just end on this, I guess, that, there's this TV series called United States of Terror that was about a woman who had multiple personalities, but she couldn't remember, which is, when it's a psychotic state, you cannot remember when you're in this one about that one. So the goal of what we're talking about tonight is that we remember all of who we are in all of the states, that we are gathering and gathering our memory and our knowledge and our awareness and our awake in as many states as we can be, so that one knows about the other, and we're communicating in all of our parts of ourselves and all of our dimensions of ourselves. That's what it means to be fully awake, so we encourage you to be as awake as you can and get to know these different dimensions and different parts of yourself, like Scott was just talking about. There are different things going on, and it's not scary. It's who we are. We're multidimensional, and we have a capacity to be aware and awake and masterful in our multidimensionality. So it's exciting. And thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you so much for participating with us. And I know Scott will probably say this, but tell others about this broadcast, about all of Scott's wonderful broadcasts, but about this one, because they can watch it later and and be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I will send both of you the recording tomorrow, and we send out the recordings of all of our shows on Mondays. And all of our shows also live on our YouTube channel. And this is a classic. This is an evergreen show that'll be of value for years to come. So I'm very, very grateful for it. I also hope that my internet is okay. Can you hear me? Because I'm,
Good.
shoot. Doggone.
We're
On.
hearing you okay.
You are? I've kind of
good.
lost, it's funny, I've lost my picture, which doesn't always happen, but I'm glad if you can hear me.
And see you.
People are asking, I'm going to talk. You can see me? Okay, great. People are asking about Piper Dellums, and I heard from Piper yesterday. First of all, she's been watching most of our shows on Facebook. She's still a little shy to come on camera.
Oh, I think his internet might have dropped right in that moment. While Scott's coming back, one other thing that I'll mention is that, as you see in the links here too, we also have Instagram and YouTube channel where you can find a lot more regular content, and it's a good way to engage with our teachings regularly.
Yeah, Nisha's got a lot of great stuff on the YouTube and the Instagram, short and longer things on the YouTube that you'll love watching. So tune into that and tell others about the YouTube and Instagram. I hope he can come back, but
should we, I can show some of the cards. Oh, look at, maybe he's back now. Maybe.
no.
There he is.
Okay. We are so reliant on our technology, aren't we? Were you able to catch everything I said about Piper Dellums? Or did you miss me?
We heard part of it and then you dropped off.
Bottom line, she's not out of the woods yet. There's they found another mass. There's a lot of work still to be done. So let's keep Piper into our prayers. Let's definitely keep her into our prayers. I was very happy to see Eleanor Joy was with us earlier today. Eleanor Joy, I'm going to put this spotlight on you for a minute if you want to share with people your update.
Can you hear me, Scott?
Yes, we can, Eleanor Joy.
Okay, so I'm still in hospital, as you can see, and it's been a long haul, much longer than ever expected, but I am going home Tuesday, and I'll be going home to my place. It's just too small, Indian's place, so I have to have home support because I can't really function on my own. And so I'm not out of the woods, but at least I'm by Tuesday I will be home.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep up your prayer, the prayers, and let's just take a moment right now and just send maximum grace to Eleanor Joy. Maximum grace to Eleanor Joy. Maximum grace to Eleanor Joy.
Thank you, Scott, and everybody.
Absolutely.
Love you all.
We love you very much too. Absolutely. We have a lot of upcoming events. So everybody kind of pay close attention. I'm going to go in chronological order because every night there's something happening for the next week. Tomorrow night is when we're going to be doing a special event. I will be in Sebastopol with the Twin Ray. And they're doing a live event in Sebastopol, but I'm going to live stream it out to all of you. So all Global Peace Tribers will get the Zoom room link. I'll email that out in the morning. For any of you who are watching on Facebook, time to join the Global Peace Tribe. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com and join, and then I'll send you the link for all of the events that you're about to see. By the way, speaking of this Twin Ray, I mentioned to Sanandaji that you will be on the show tonight, and he sends both of you lots and lots of love and looks forward to connecting with you, ideally, when we're all back in Ashland. they left today to come down to the Bay Area. So I was going to do the New Living Expo. So hopefully we're all going to get together and have break bread together sometime soon. So lots of love to you from Sananda Ji and Shakina Ma. Anyway, so everybody, the event tomorrow will start at 7 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock, and it's going to be a 2.5 hour conversation with the Twin Ray. They will take some questions. So hopefully we'll get some questions in from our audience. And then this weekend, I'm going to be coming to you live from the New Living Expo. We're going to have a lot of fun. You might recall every year we do that. We come from the New Living Expo. Alan Steinfeld will be my roving reporter, bringing people in as he has for other conferences we've come from. And old friend Daniel Brinkley has promised to stop in and visit with us. So that's going to be our show on Saturday night. Now we're getting close to Earth Day, and there are some wonderful Earth Day events that are going to be happening. And I want to make sure that people know about them. So I'm going to try and do my best to go in chronological order of all the Earth Day events that are happening. The first Earth Day event is this Saturday, April 20th. So this is actually happening just before my show. On Saturday, April 20th at 4 o'clock Pacific time, 7 o'clock Eastern. It's free. It's put on by our friend Mitchell Rabin. Kristen Hoffman will be singing. Charles Eisenstein is amazing. Bruce Lipton. It's a really good group of people. So I strongly encourage you to do this. And you can find out everything by going to abetterworld.com. Abetterworld.com is where you can learn about that. And then I think he's actually in the room with us, Andrew Kane, who's our dear friend. He came to the Global Peace Tribe retreat in Los Angeles. Andrew and his friends are putting on another event on Sunday. And it's Planet Heart's 16th annual World Peace Earth Day celebration. I know that Andrew put into the chat box how to register. Go to www.planetheart.org. planetheart.org and get all the information on that. And Andrew, if you're still with us, you can put some information into the chat box about it. Then on Monday, we have another special event that is a Global Peace Tribe event. For those of you in Northern California, we are going to have a live conversation with Danny Sheehan at the Sunrise Center. And Danny is someone I've known for decades. He is the attorney for consciousness. He was the attorney for Karen Silkwood before she was murdered. They made a movie about her with Meryl Streep playing the role. He was the attorney for Daniel Ellsberg. He was the attorney for Standing Rock. And now he is the attorney for the whistleblowers coming out of the Pentagon talking about what's really happening with UFO stuff. So if you're in Northern California, come to the Sunrise Center. That's in Corte Madera. Meet him in person. I'll be there. But for most of you, of course, you can't do that. So I am going to live stream it out. And again, there'll be a special live stream address for that. You do need to register. I sent that link out today, and I'll send it out again tomorrow to everybody that's part of our Global Peace Tribe. So everybody on our email list will get that. So we got a lot going on, and we're really excited about it. All right, I am going to bring up our beloved brother, the wild monk of the mystic monastery, Jerry. Jerry, do you want me to play your video first, or do you want to introduce it first?
Well, I was thinking of introducing our tribe a little different way to our project tonight. Our end goal is to bring unity around the world, and we have so many philosophies and cosmologies and ways to understand how the universe works that we are combining two of the most diverse ways of thinking of consciousness into one monastery, the first time in history. That is, we are actually in the area before Columbus arrived in the New World. It was populated by the Taino people in the area behind me, and this was their sacred river that most of their cosmology and so forth talks about. And we have in the English language about 500 words from the Taino language, like canoe, barbecue, hammock, papayas, even hurricane is a Taino word. And the center of this river passes through our property 19.2 kilometers. And we are the caretakers as it passes through three mountains on the way to the sea. And this is the indigenous side of our heritage. And then on the monastic side of our heritage, which monastic basically means almost all the religions that connect with any type of religion, whether they're Buddhist or Hindu or Christian or whatever. So our tradition goes back to St. Thomas in 54 AD. He was in India, the disciple of St. Thomas. And we are part of a living heritage of anointings going all the way back to St. Thomas in India, as well as one of our main themes and curriculums will be the Gospel of St. Thomas, just a short chapter of only about 114 verses, but each one of them is kind of like a riddle. It's very intense. So we're combining together in this Puerto Rico, you might say, the convergence of all the different types of philosophies on Earth for the first time. So yes, if we could show the little video, it's 2 minutes. It'll show you our property and what our project is about. Thank you, Scott.
Absolutely. So I'm going to pull it up and here we go.
Okay.
Monastic Monastery of St. John the Baptist of Monastic and Indigenous Healing, a sacred sanctuary pulsing with ancient spiritual energy dating back to 800 AD. Nestled in the heart of Puerto Rico's rainforest, our monastery is surrounded by the enchanting beauty of mountains, waterfalls, tropical rainforests, and beaches, making it a unique spiritual sanctuary on the island of enchantment. Our mission is to mentor, prepare, and equip future generations of light healers and saints. We aim to raise the vibrations of the human collective consciousness worldwide. We embrace all spiritual frameworks, encouraging individuals to follow their intuitive path with the foundational principles of self-awareness and the Golden Rule. At the Mystic Monastery, we blend monastic healing practices with indigenous healing traditions, focusing on empowering individuals to heal themselves. Our curriculum is anchored in self-awareness, community, and the understanding that we are all interconnected parts of a greater whole. Our lifelong curriculum for students, known as Healer Monks, is a transformative journey culminating in an understanding and application of the Law of One. Graduates have the potential to attain the esteemed title of Master Healer, continuing to guide humanity towards spiritual ascension. This is an opportunity for profound personal growth and a significant impact on our world. As part of our outreach, we maintain an online social network for lightworkers, operate a suicide hotline with spiritually sensitive counseling, host musical events in our majestic caves, and offer on-campus workshops for spiritual guidance and training. Our work is rooted in the return to nature for healing and connection. We grow our food sustainably and encourage others to listen to nature's guidance. We empower individuals to reclaim authority over their health and well-being. We warmly invite you to contribute to the Mystic Monastery. Whether you're interested in becoming a healer monk, offering your time and talent, or simply providing encouragement, your partnership with us is invaluable. Together, we can make a ripple of consciousness forward in time, fostering a loving world of oneness.
Beautiful. And we can support Jerry by going, I'm going to bring up a QR code because right now Jerry needs some green love. We definitely, want to pray for his success. We do a lot of prayer here, but green energy is also appreciated and needed quite often. So I am now going to scan the QR code and I'm going to take a few minutes and just invite everybody to do what I'm going to do. I'm getting out my phone. I should actually highlight myself so you can see that I'm doing this. There we go. I am going to the QR code. There it goes. It's going to take me to Jerry's GoFundMe, where I'm going to make a donation. And I'm really hoping, let's accept Jerry's cookies. Jerry wants to give us his cookies. And after accepting the cookies, let's put in our donation. Here we go. And I hope everybody else is going along with me, doing this at the same time.
Thank you, Global Peace Tribers, because all the donations so far have come from Global Peace Tribe. Reverend Jeffrey was one of the first ones to get on and donated to us already. Thank you, everybody. This will, I have almost single-handedly funded this project for the last 8 years, and my income has come way down, so I need a little help right now to make it keep going.
Well, thank you very much. All right, I have successfully donated, and I hope that others are going to do so as well. We love you, Jerry. Thank you so much for the wonderful work that you're doing, and you
God
are
bless each of you.
one of our absolute favorite Global Peace Tribers. Definitely a very central person to us. Love you.
Yes.
All
Thank you.
right. Well, I'm going to bring up one more time our amazing guests, Nisha and Norma. What a wonderful mother-daughter team you are. And thank you so much. You've provided so much inspiration for all of us. And yes, Susan, all of our Zoom room, all of our meetings are recorded. You can always catch it. And by tomorrow, I'll have this up on our YouTube channel probably. And I also send it out, all of our subscribers. We send out the replays usually on Monday, maybe sometimes on Tuesday. So thank you, Nisha and Norma.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you in person when I come back to Ashland. And
Exciting.
and I know you're going to do something at the Haven soon.
Great. Thanks so much for having us on, and wonderful to be with all of you. Thanks, Scott, for all you do.
My pleasure. Take care, everybody. I hope to see you all tomorrow night for our special event, and have a beautiful evening. Good night, everybody.
Bye. Bye.